And welcome to the April Planetarium Zoom seminar. Today, we have two people who received PPA mini grants last year in the summer of 2020. Actually, they probably got their money somewhat later than summer. But they have projects that have been in progress. So we're pleased to have reports from them. We're going to have a report from Alice Few from Washington State, and Nico van der Merwe. I butchered that name completely, so he can correct me when he starts up. And he's from South Africa. So blow our minds by having an instant connection with South Africa today. And with that, I think I'd like to turn it over to Alice. Would you like to start?
Yes, thank you. So I am.
Oh wait! What? Sorry, Alice. I just need to make one more announcement. We have a sign-in sheet. It's called the chat. So if you would put your name, and your real name in the chat and where you're from, that would be great. And of course, remember to mute unless you have a question. And if I'm not mistaken, both of our presenters are happy to take questions at any time. Okay. Sorry, Alice. Over to you.
Okay, that was quite all right. Thank you very much. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's see if we can get that. We practiced, which means now it may not work. So, okay. So thank you very much. And I see two names that I recognize from the whole proposal and trying to get organized part. And so before I forget, Andy, thank you so much. You were amazing in putting up with Pierce College and trying to help us get our funding, and I appreciate that. Alan, you too. But my name is Alice Few, and I am an adjunct faculty member here at Pierce College, Fort Steilacoom in Lakewood, Washington, so near the Tacoma area. And I want to thank you guys for letting me come in tonight and share a little bit about how we are using the mini grant that you guys gifted with us as well. And our goal was to basically use that to create a program for middle school students. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But just a little bit about Pierce College and our Science Dome, our planetarium. I'm kind of wearing two hats at this point in time because I also am a volunteer with the Tacoma Astronomical Society. And for the, starting about 15, 17 years ago, we were doing free star parties and outreach at Pierce College, and some other tiny rooms up on the hill was our star party area. And that hill was now replaced with the Rainier building, the new science building for Pierce College around 2010. And in 2013, the Science Dome came online, and it truly is kind of the best little planetarium in that part of Washington state, almost bar none. And the nice thing about both of these groups, both with Pierce College and with Tacoma Astronomical Society, is they have really done a good job as well during COVID. Our little planetarium has been continuing with its public shows online as virtual shows. And so we keep moving forward with that. As far as kind of our objectives for the grants, this is kind of what I had turned in when I was looking at the mini grant. And really what we needed was, we have a region. We wanted to serve teachers and students. Middle school was a great age group. That tends to be an age group where kids start doubting themselves and they start dropping things because of peer pressure oftentimes, which is sad. But anyway, we were targeting middle groups, and we wanted to be able to serve the community around our Science Dome, so we could use that that tool. That flipped with COVID. So we had to go with everything online. But we wanted to make sure that we could reach out and do that. So the changes that we had to make to work with COVID was mainly technology. Everything had to be on Zoom. We were working in a couple of different bubbles. We couldn't get into the school district bubble for Teams. So Pierce College ran all of the meetings on Zoom, and then we duplicated things in Teams so that the students could go back and forth and get things. We created a website, which I'll show you, that worked for about 2/3 of the program until the school district made a mandatory block on all Google sites. So we had to work around that again and get a site inside their bubble. But we knew that the students were going to have very minimalistic access to tools. We knew they weren't going to have printers. And so it really gave us the opportunity to be creative and flexible. And so the website was huge. Zoom was huge. Having that technical expertise from the college was amazing. And then tapping into the outreach materials and expertise with the Tacoma Astronomical Society and the Night Sky Network as well were really great in helping us jump over that technology barrier that all of the kids had in this. So originally the program was going to be a 7 or 14-day kind of camp type program, depending upon if we were running it during a break or running it during a school year. And so everything was switched, and we started working with the kids in December and have been working weekly with them and created for the school kind of their first ever STEM camp and STEM club. So that's kind of where everything's shifted to working with COVID. So these are our partners. So it was Katie Adanza, who is our lead technical support person there with our planetarium, with our science dome. She connected with the kids doing virtual tours that were all online. We used the money to help get more time for her to build out the kind of behind the scenes films. So she was able to create videos with for the kids to view and for us to keep online so that kids could see kind of what happens behind a planetarium. How do those cool planetarium programs go on? How do the shows work? So that we got to have that experience, and then we got to do the virtual tour with her, and then we had the Q&A afterwards. And then she also did a little video, since our emphasis was going to be in astronomy and computational thinking as 21st century skills. She did another video to talk about, well, this is what you see, and here's all the pretty stuff that you get to see when you come in to see a program, but this is what happens in the back, and this is the coding that we're going to do. And then we were able to look at the way the kids were learning how to code with block coding and actually see how things kind of pair up with the coding that those technicians do behind the scenes. So let's just take a quick look, and I'm going to jump over to, oops, one too far. There we go, to the website. Too many to do. So this is the website that we put together to work with the kids. And the reason too for doing this was this was our legacy piece that we wanted to leave behind so that the faculty members could reproduce what we had done every year. And then we could come in as volunteers and leave, but they would have the entire little program in a capsule for them. So like I said before, it was astronomy was the creative spark that we were using, space exploration, the solar system, and really working with the NASA objectives as well as that moon to Mars. So spent a lot of time talking about different lunar missions and all of the different missions to Mars as kind of that spark to get us going. I'll show you at the end some of the things that we're still wrapping up in this project. But the kids had a blast with everything that we did, all of the different activities that we did, learning about the solar system. We started with that traditional paper tape scale of the solar system, and then worked kind of all the way through and brought it all the way into our coding as well. So what we would do is there was a different theme for every meeting. And then we would have all of those things echoed back onto the website so the students could take their friends, take their family members and people in their household and share all that with them. So all of those things ended up here as well. We would have spaces. I took all of these out in this copy because it was kids' own personal postings, so you didn't see it, but we had spots along the way where kids could post questions and then we could answer them for them as they went. And then on the coding side, it was an opportunity for us to talk about space exploration and add those coding elements. So we started off with lots of computational thinking type games, rover mazes, rovers having to pick up particular types of samples of different values and get back to the place where they had to deposit it before they lost all their solar power. So they really had to think about things in advance. They had engineers wanting to do one things and science people on the science initiative wanting to do something else, and they had to work together to do that. And so we would do those as games, and then we started getting into what does it mean to be a good digital citizen, a global digital citizen, and then block coding. So we did a lot of that with Scratch. And this very last piece that we're doing, because this was the biggest technical hurdle to get over because of the computers that the kids have, is our finale was they've been working on what it would be like to establish a little science biome, or a little science residence on the moon. One group's doing the moon and one group's doing Mars. So they have been trying to figure out all of the things that they have to keep in mind. And then they're going to build that out in Minecraft and use the coding functionality, the Java or the block coding functionality, to do actions and to complete actions that people can't do on the moon or on Mars. And so this is what we're leaving behind, are all of these activities and all of these skills, and all of the different things for them to do. So that was quite a lot of fun putting that together. So we'll go back, and then I wanted to kind of pull everything together and to share with the milestones that we've done to date. Like I said, we switched from doing 7 days as a camp to basically doing about 30 meetings. So every Wednesday afternoon doing meetings. And so we've just finished our 23rd out of 30 meetings, and we might have a few trailing on presentations at the end. We did the virtual field trips at the planetarium with the kids, and all of our behind the scenes with Katie, and how it's good to know both coding and astronomy and art and presentation skills and writing skills and all of those skills tie in. We did all of our solar system and space exploration activities. And then it was such perfect timing in that we focused on Mars as one of our other planets to gear the kids up for the Perseverance landing. So we had this huge landing party. And the week before, we actually spent a lot of time talking about there's the landing, and then there's variations of a landing, and what could some of those variations of landing be. And so we had a really good discussion about the worst scenario landing, and we had some great interactive activities with different folks with NASA who were working on these different projects. And in the Washington State area, we have a lot of different companies that are working both on the Mars side as well as gearing up for the Artemis program as well. So we did the Perseverance landing party. We followed it up with an astrobiology project where we simulated how the rover was going to drill using various candy bars and looking at how that works and all of that kind of stuff. And then we went back into doing more advanced coding in Scratch and getting ready for the Ingenuity flight. They were able to create their own little Ingenuity sprite. It's what it's called. It's like a little character. And then they had different levels of challenges that they could participate in. Being able to control the sprite with their keyboard, being able to pre-program in advance the sprite to launch, to hover for so long, to move left or right for so long, to return to its starting point, or to return and touch different colors to do different actions, because they were learning as we went along that it's not a drone, no one's controlling it. And so that was new for them as well. Still to come, we have our kind of final wrap-up tour and virtual field trip to the planetarium, and this time with our family members as well. We're looking forward to hopefully a couple more nice live interviews with folks that are working on the Ingenuity project at NASA, and also some of our ASEP volunteers. So that would be the our astronomers and education and Chile group. We just finished off our last Scratch program. We have our Minecraft projects, and then we'll do an online gallery presentation for the other schools. We ended up picking up outside of just Lockburn, because we helped them get through the MESA competition, which is a science competition. We picked up kids now from other schools as well. So those kids and their families will get a chance to see our presentations at the end. So the legacy that's being left behind because of this mini grant is we now have a really good solid start. The school does for next year for continuing on with this STEM club that they have. The Clover Park School District and the Lockburn family have this whole website and all of these activities ready to go. All the how-tos, get things done are there. We have the kids went from being, very, very nervous and thinking, well, astronomy is not for me, space exploration is not for me, I can't do this because I don't have these skills, to being completely on the opposite, that computational thinking is just like playing games and working together. And they learned a lot from watching problem solving activities that that people do at NASA, learning about how did they figure out how to get Ingenuity to actually fly when you can't replicate that gravity. You have to figure out ways to do that. You have to figure out ways to show a different type of atmosphere. And they really got into that, and they really loved the aspect of they could see themselves in the people that were working on these projects, and they could see themselves and the things that they love to do. Whether they were artists or whether they were gamers or whether they were science geeks, their term, they could see themselves working in this environment. And so we've got a bunch of kids that are now turned on to space exploration. For them, that Perseverance landing was what I remember as my Apollo time, right? And I think that was a big deal for them. So that was really great to pull that all together and help them with that. So thank you very much for that mini grant. We've had a wonderful time with it, and it's been incredibly helpful. And so that's what I wanted to share. So I am open for questions.
Well, thank you, Alice. I would like for everybody to unmute, and let's give a round of applause. That was a really good presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we should take at least a couple or a few questions before we go to the other presentation. Not too many, but are there questions?
Yes, so this program lasted like through a semester for the
Right, we started in November.
Right? How many hours
each week? Yeah, so it was about an hour and a half every week, and it was 30 actual sessions on astronomy and space exploration. And then we had an additional 4 sessions where we used our time and we supported them getting ready for this MESA science competition. And then I worked with Yasmin and Cheyenne for about 3 meetings prior, just getting up to speed on what the expectations were and modifying things to work with them. So yeah, that was the time that was put into that.
Alice, I'd just like to say it's nice to see you in person
Oh,
and
I
meet
know.
you
Thank you. You too.
after emails. But yeah, extremely impressed by all that you've done. And, you know, apart from a little bit of money, this obviously took a lot of organizational skills and
Oh, thank
wonderful
you.
ideas on your part. So I'm totally impressed. You know, as someone who sometimes has difficulty working with middle schoolers, do you have any pointers with that? I imagine I love that idea about taking them behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Interested in seeing how that was received, and got a couple other questions if you have time. But
Yeah, they really enjoyed the behind the scenes, and they really enjoyed the fact that they could ask questions of Katie, right? Who they saw as the astronomer. Whoever in front of the room is the astronomer, so that part doesn't matter, but that she could flip back and forth between talking about planets and talking about coding, and you know, and all of the other folks that kind of came in to do things were young. They were closer in their age, and that helped with the middle schoolers a lot, in that they were seeing when NASA was getting ready for Perseverance landing, they did special programs just for middle school, elementary school, and high school. So in the middle school folks, they did an exceptional job of connecting people up with folks that were in their late 20s, barely 30s, who were from all across the United States and all different demographics, so that the kids could see themselves there. And it was young folk, and that for middle school, I think, made a big difference. I see that coming up more and more with middle schoolers than I do with elementary schools. I do tons of stuff with Girl Scouts, so I get the spectrum. And that middle school, they get so reserved, and they get very, I can't do things, so we have to bump the growth mindset forward, and that helps too. So we did do some growth mindset work at the very beginning with them, and that helped. So
I'm also curious about what makes you a good digital citizen, because I may be a lousy digital citizen and not know
yeah,
it.
well, a lot of that was no one ever talks about what plagiarism is, right? So part of that is that one of the things in coding is that people will put their coding up as open source, and that allows you to take something and modify it, make it better, and then share it back. But it's that recognizing, and making sure that for us, it would be give the citation to, right? But for them, it is the, saying who you got the material from, what you did to change it, and then give it back again. And so for the middle school, that was what you were working on, was, giving back, and then making sure that when you borrowed pieces of code in the coding, we actually practice putting in comments about this came from so-and-so. And then when they published their code, they would put down the list, their bibliography, right? They would put down their list of, where the ideas came from. And we got to the point where that was something that the goal was to try and get that as an automatic thought. And then the other piece of that, so it's the intellectual property. It is the idea kind of around the Creative Commons, where you are giving and taking and giving back again. And then the flip side is recognizing that when you're dealing at great distances, and when you can't see each other, and when you're working with each other, you don't always have visual clues. You don't know the people, so you don't know their style. So being very careful about what you say and how you respond to people, and pausing, waiting a day before you reply back, because all that stuff is just going to live on forever, right? So those were the two main concepts in that digital citizenship piece.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I didn't create it, right? It came straight from a different, from kind of a collaborative, group that works specifically on digital citizenship for, K-12. So.
I'm so glad that PPA was able to help you with your project.
Yay, I was too.
Well,
I want to keep going again. So now I have to go out and find more funding. But yeah, it was great. It was very nice, and I really appreciate it.
I take it that these were all virtual sessions.
Yeah, that was
And
the only part that was kind of sad for me, but
is there any idea when your planetarium might open?
well, Pierce County had been doing really well. Now we've rolled back. So originally the idea was, it looks like we will probably have the planetarium open for school for our academic work, maybe into the summer and by fall. But as far as the public, that's going to be based on what our county does, and our county needs to get their act together. We'll keep doing all of our online outreach the best we can. And we're actually having a meeting on this upcoming week with the college to kind of get an update and a plan moving forward. Because that was one of the goals, was to bring the kids and their families into the Science Dome, so that they know that that's a resource right around the corner from them, and hopefully make that early connection, so that they can see a bridge from high school all the way up, into higher ed.
That's great. Well, there probably are more questions, but I think what I'd like to do is ask, if you have more questions for Alice, jot them down to yourself or put them in the chat, but save them, because we can field questions from both presentations after Nico does his presentation. So I think this is a good time. Actually, this is the halfway point. We can switch over to Nico if you're ready.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Alice. You had a very, very well prepared presentation. Nice project. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so just for those of you who don't know, okay, just make sure everyone can see my screen.
Nico, yes, we can see your screen. A reminder to people who may have come in late, we have a sign-in sheet. It's called the chat. So if you can put your name and where you're from in the chat. Okay. Yes, we can see your screen, Nico.
So I'll show everyone exactly where I'm from. So I'm from South Africa. South Africa is the most southern country in South Africa, and I live in a small town in the Karoo, Desert Karoo area. So it is a very, very small town, but it's known for the Southern African Large Telescope that's located just outside town. And just for interest sake, since actually just before I received the grant, I got the position to work as a mechanical engineer at the South African Large Telescope. So that's been a new development. And just some history. The Sutherland Planetarium is the only private-owned planetarium, and it's owned by me and my mother. We had the opportunity to invest in town, and we decided to build a digital planetarium. So I'm sure you all know exactly what it is to build or what it is to create a planetarium. But when I just finished university, I did this study, and I found that the planetarium consists out of 3 main components. So first, of course, the structure and the screen, and then the building to house it. And I realized for my budget, I couldn't build all 3 of them. So I found a very, very weird concept. This is basically a affordable housing concept that has got no metal work whatsoever. It's just clay or just bricks. And the cool thing of this is you can use the unskilled laborers to build it. Very strong building, very easy to build. And then, of course, projection system. I'm not sure if anyone uses a Full Dome Pro system, but I love my Full Dome Pro system. I considered about 17 different systems, and I ended up with the Full Dome Pro system. So just a little short video. So the system I used was basically, where do I control the sound? The system I used was basically meant to be used for a mobile dome, but it works perfectly for my dome. It consists out of 4 projectors, 3 covering the circumference and 1 covering the top. And it can all be calibrated by a single camera with a fisheye lens. And that is exactly where our funding will come in, and that is where I got my awesome lens for the astrophotography from. I'm just going to skip this bit. So the main reason I got the full dome pro system is it can, seems like I've got, that works. So it can handle a rougher surface. So a conventional projector, especially a single lens projector, wouldn't have been able to project onto the rougher dome surface. But with with the Fish Dome Pro system, Full Dome Pro system, sorry, it was able to adjust to the roof. And like you can see on the right-hand side, this is the final product. We actually have a very, very nice resolution inside our dome. So that's me, by the way. Me and my mom, the day when we got our building plans approved, we bought a property in town. Luckily, at that stage, property was very, very cheap in Sutherland. And we set to work. We got some local dam builders. And they started with the construction. Everything went really fast. And by the way, me and my dad also project managed the whole project. So we got this inflatable air support, or like the builders called it, the balloon. And it's basically same as a jumping castle material. You inflate it to 0.5 bars, and then you can use it as a guide or as a reference to build around it. So we started with the wall. You'll see some unevenness, but like you'll see in my planetarium, I've got 2 domes, one were to practice on and the second one to get it much better. We inflated and we were able to build around it. No metal work whatsoever, just scaffolding to hold it in place. And then as the builders were approaching the top, they were able to actually sit on the structure. It was finished, and like you'll see here, the one on the right hand side, that's my coffee shop and the reception area now. And there's some bumps in it, but everything, all the mistakes we made on the right hand side, we corrected on the left hand side. So the left hand side is my dome. We finished that in mid 2018, and at that stage, everything was still very, very bare. We employed 2 local girls and we trained them as baristas, and a month later we actually started training them to operate the planetarium as well. That's the Minister of Tourism that visited us in the first couple of weeks. So in total we have 3 ladies working for us at the moment. So this was still early days at the planetarium. This was about a year. This is actually 2 years ago. We did some minor upgrades at the planetarium, and in the meantime we added what we call an astro amphitheater, or astro amphitheater telescope stargazing area. We've got 2 111-inch and 1 14-inch Celestron SC type telescopes, and we also have the cell phone adapters. So we don't only offer planetarium shows, we also offer evening stargazing and also a small astrophotography session at the end. So the reason why this is all made possible, let me just stop sharing. Thank you. Reason why everything is possible is Sutherland is the astrophotography or the stargazing capital of South Africa. We've got 70% cloudless nights. It is the best place in Southern Africa to do stargazing. So that is why they built not only the SALT telescope, but also about 20 other international telescopes at the plateau just outside Sutherland. And also in lockdown time, when was that? It started in May. We had to shut our doors for about 2 or 3 months. And it's about that time when we applied for a grant. You'll remember I said our full dome pro system uses a fisheye or camera with a fisheye lens to calibrate the projectors. So I started playing around, and it uses a very, very simple entry-level camera with low resolution, very low ISO. So I started playing around with that, and then I realized if I want to take proper pictures, I need to up my game, and that's when I applied for the funding, and I added some. Let me just change this. Whoops, wrong button. So I invested in a Nikon D5300 camera. So for the funds I was able to raise, that was the best camera at hand that I was able to purchase. And I've got very limited training with camera, but I do have access to the best southern skies. And with me also working at the SALT telescope, I've got very limited access to film at the SAO or the SALT telescope. So let me share another screen here. Where's that one? Share, not you, you. So I created a little page on YouTube, account, Sutherland Planetarium, and I started playing around. This is some of the first, not this one. Yeah, that was before the fisheye. So on the left-hand side, you'll see the SALT telescope. There's some other smaller telescopes as well, and just the very, very beautiful southern skies. And just for interest's sake, they created about 5 months ago. The South African government and some of the National Research Foundation funded the first professional full dome film in South Africa. It's called Rising Star. It's a beautiful, beautiful international standard film. So we also showcased that one at this stage, and that's when my project actually, or that's my focus of the project. The camera crew only had 2 days to come and film in Sutherland, and it went very good weather. So I live here. I've got access all year round to the southern skies as the seasons change. So that's why I tried to create little clips. Let me try and show you one of the other ones. So these are still very, very early days. These are unedited videos. Just let me just stop here. So in South Africa, we know the story of Orion the Hunter. So the star sign here, you can still see my screen. There's little 3 stars right there.
Yes.
That's the belt, sword, shoulder, head of Orion. That arch right there, that's the bow. I don't think you guys can see my cursor, but you can actually see Orion, Taurus, and Pleiades all in a row with the story of Orion trying to shoot Taurus before he charges the 7 sisters.
We can see the cursor. It's just fine.
Okay, no, that's perfect. So yes, we have as Alan also explained, I started off with using the camera funded by PPA for to do astrophotography and to create small bits of time-lapse videos that can be used in larger films. So the idea is not to create an entire film, just to create either photos or small time lapses and to upload them. At this stage, they are uploaded on my YouTube channel. But I am also a member of the African Planetarium Association. It's a newly formed association. I'm also the treasurer of the association. And I am part of a working group tasked to design an affordable mobile planetarium for the African continent. And that's when I started working. Let me stop sharing this screen, stop share, and share another screen. I actually expected you guys to ask much more questions. So please don't be shy to.
So far, we're pretty well dazzled, I think.
Now I'm running through this like crazy. So my main idea of the projector I'm working on at the moment, these are BenQ. They are basically 1080p short throw basically gaming projectors. But those are the projectors I use in my planetarium, and I've got a spare one that I played with. And when I actually wanted to invest in a mobile planetarium, since the whole area I live is a very poor community and people can't afford to visit us. So we'll rather send mobile to them to just to show them how amazing a planetarium is. And I realized mobile planetariums are super, super expensive. And I decided, challenge accepted, I'm going to create one. And my first idea was basically making my own fisheye projector. And went to work, I actually bought a second-hand auxiliary lens. So how these lenses work is basically if you've got a camera and you've got a kit lens, you're not sure if you want a wide angle or zoom lens, you buy this, actually this. So it screws onto the front of your lens, and then it turns your, say, your 50mm into, in this case, it's a 0.14 times. So it'll create that in, what's that, 7mm, something like that. And I thought, well, this is, as you can see, super cheap. And by the way, I did buy it from Amazon. If it can work for a camera, why not for a projector? And I tested it.
Could you hold up that lens again just for a second?
So it is super, super wide angle. Also very cheap. I've been carrying this in my laptop bag for. So by the way, this is not the same I use on my camera. I use a $1,000 plus lens on my camera. This is what's this? A $25 lens. The zero. Can you see the 0.154? But
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very cool find. So like here, I went to test this, and most of my projects are usually late at night, and I want to get it done now. So I went to the garage, created this is just a diagonal to get my mirror pointing up, or my projector pointing upwards. People told me they use a diagonal, but that's like $100 plus. This is $5 if it's even that expensive. So at that stage, I just created that, and you'll see a little milk carton here just to keep the angle right. I have actually printed a new bracket, so I am going forward, but that was just for a proof of concept to see if this can work. And like you see on the right hand side, there is my tripod I bought, and there is my camera with my fisheye lens. So the camera plays a huge role. I use the lens or the camera to record the progress. Like you'll see here, image on the left, that is the image I fed into my projector or into the fisheye projector. And on the right hand side, that's the one I took with the fisheye lens. And as you'll see, since you guys can see my cursor, these are my 4 projectors. They are not illuminated at this stage. So this is the single fisheye lens projector I created that's doing this inside my 9-meter dome. So I think this is actually very good. And as you'll see, I took a couple of pictures from my cell phone from this conference, and I am able to cover the entire circumference of my room. And by the way, this weird image is the best high quality image I could get at the with the 2-minute search. So yes, that's just quick update of what I'm also doing. In the meantime, I've been creating a new canvas inflatable dome, or working on the concept, just waiting for the funding of that to be approved. And I have created a 3D printed stand for my projector, and also something more rugged than a gooseneck. This is actually the thing that you put on your windshield and connect your cell phone to, that I just connected some cable ties with. Also a very quick fix. So I am working on a more, how to say, permanent, perhaps a laser cut and bend option to mount the projector. But at least, like you can see, proof of concept. This is, I won't replace this with my system, but I'm actually aiming to create a 5-meter dome for under $30,000. And that will allow me to actually invest in a couple of these and send them to the local area. So yes, all in short, that's what I'm working on. Any questions?
That's amazing. Let's have a little bit of applause for Nico. That's amazing. And questions, yes.
So I was wondering, I missed it, I think. What are you planning to use for the portable domes that you will send out or have them use?
You mean for the dome itself?
For the ones that you send out for the domes there.
Okay, I haven't prepped this bit, and this is still in the making, but I am, let me check in the background if I can share a folder. But I actually found a company that works with canvas. So I want to create an inflatable out of canvas. That is still very, very early days. I haven't found anyone else that does it, but let me see, where's my folder? Not you. For my content, not you. I'll share. Okay, I'll try in the background to find the correct one. But yes, I actually found a company that's able to make a canvas dome for me. What's it, a 5.4 meter canvas dome at a price of 6,000 rand, 6,500 rand. So that's about $500. No, not even $500. $400, something like that. So that's for that price, I can create a custom dome. I did send them the designs. They're just gonna work the fabric. So if anyone has got a cheaper dome that's already built, please let me know then.
I guess I just wanted to ask about using very old Starlab portable domes, if there's some surplus of old portables running around for those systems before they went digital, and how well they might work. I don't know if anybody here has experience with that.
So portable domes are extremely scarce in Africa, and like I said, I'm also part of the African Planetarium Association, and part of what we do is we try and arrange, say, all domes that we get as sponsorship from the States or from wherever. And in most cases, the shipping of the dome is much more expensive than if you were able to create it in your own country. And luckily for me, South Africa we are a third world country, but we have access and the skills to create our own material or our own domes in that way. So I would also like to, I'm taking this up as a challenge to create my own one, and perhaps even to get some concept that can be used throughout Africa. So that's why I'm thinking of using canvas.
Thank you.
Is your projection surface going to be just the bare canvas, and have you tested that?
Well, my projection surface at the planetarium is my bare cement dome screen, and the the technicians who installed my projectors for me, they were impressed by the quality. So I think it's doable. But like I did with my projection system, I tested it on flats before anything. So I have already tested different types of ripstock nylon, different canvases. So I have found one that's quite well, or that you can project on quite well. But yes, I would definitely do a lot of testing on materials before just buying something and realizing it's not working.
Nico, this is Andy. Nice to meet you too after emailing with you.
Hi, Andy.
I'm curious about the plans once work this up and create these portable planetariums. What is the plan for them?
So to be honest, I actually imagine having multiple of them and two-man teams sending them out through Southern Africa. And my deal with the group that I'm on, so everyone's doing this on their own time, not charging anything. And the target is to create a setup for $3,000. And my deal is, so at this stage, I think I can create them for $2,300. Then I can actually create them and sell them to the government or to be distributed. But my plans are to upload everything for free. So if someone elsewhere wants to create it, I'll give them the exact drawings plans. But I am gonna try and I'm gonna manufacture some for myself, and for whoever's interested, I'll also sell them at a fair price, but share the designs for free. But we first have to get a concept that works.
Of course, yeah, no, that's great. And I know you were talking about sharing your photography with us. Could you correct Orion so it's not upside down anymore once you do that?
I'll draw a stick figurine or a stick line.
Yeah, right.
Yes, so part of the APA, what? Sorry, Carl, I'll be with you just now. So part of the APA, what we're also doing is we invested in a, what do you call it, a network access device. Basically, if the IT guy explained it correct, it's a huge hard drive for your website. So we invested in a 64 terabyte memory space, and we are going to share, for instance, Rising Star, the new film, in both 4K and 8K resolution. So we got the permissions to be the official, or basically the first website to launch that. And then there's some new Star Law films, also Southern African created ones. And then part of the website is to have a platform where everyone can share or can upload videos, photos. We will filter them, but the idea is to make as much media possible for larger companies to use this inside films. Okay. Sorry, Cole, I interrupted you earlier.
Oh, I was just telling Andy he should just stand on his head when you look at Orion there. That's
there you go.
What you got to do. What's
At
up and
this
down?
stage,
You're certainly a really busy guy. You've been doing a lot of stuff. Fantastic seeing the construction of your domes. That was really interesting to see. And I'm glad to see you put the PPA grant money to very good use.
no, thank you. Once my dome project are done, I'll start playing with the camera again. I actually had to dust off the camera bag before the session. I haven't been using it. I actually converted a couple of videos just before the meeting, and that actually got me triggered. I actually forgot I bought what do you call this? The photography license, the Adobe. I bought the Adobe package or paid in advance for a year. So that was also part of the grant or the total funding. So I have to start working on my photo editing skills.
There was a question in the chat from Carol. I would like to know if the programs are in English, Afrikaans, or other languages.
So the Rising Star film, I'm sure you guys will love it. It's really good quality. So that's in English, but they do want to add extra soundtracks. The Star Law one, or the new films that will be released in June. They will be, I think, in all 11 official South African languages. We do have 11 official languages.
And I had a question about the new African Planetarium Society. Have you had meetings? I mean, do you have like virtual meetings at all, or what's the state of that society?
So we are semi-active. We actually had a big meeting yesterday, and the South African government has got a healthy budget for research, and we actually got some funding to kickstart the society. And the board itself. So we meet about every month. We've got a very live WhatsApp social media group. And we are forming new committees where we're going to do media sharing. We're going to do how to start a planetarium, how to get funding for a planetarium, everything you need to know. So yes, that is actually something that's picking up steam. But as I said, there's only 3 planetariums in there's only 3 digital planetariums in Southern Africa, where mine is the only private owned one. And in total, I think we've got about 12 in Africa that we know of, excluding mobile planetariums, planetaria.
Well, I just want everybody to know that in case you were thinking that we have a hard ending after an hour, we don't. So we can have questions for either presenter at this point, and we can go for a little while longer. I see that April asked a question of Alice. If I can switch gears for a second, Alice, if you can share the activities, and I'm interested in that too. I see your answer that you put in the chat.
Yeah. So the plan is to do a debrief with the 2 school faculty members that I've been working with on, and then making whatever modifications will help in the future, and then make a duplicate copy of that site and strip out all of the stuff where the kids have participated. There's a calendar in there, right, that would have all of their Zoom information, and that can get stripped out. No one needs that anymore. But then all the activities will be left behind, and all of the links and all the videos embedded would all stay embedded. And so then I'll share that, I'll send that back through Andy, Alan, whomever, and then you guys can distribute the URL and you guys can take what you want.
Well, it's the Pacific Planetarium Association, but also the International Planetarium Society. I'm sure would be interested in that.
Sure.
So,
Yep. Yeah, so we finish up mid-June, and so I think everything should be cleaned up and stripped out by July. So yeah, you should see something around then.
And Nico, the International Planetarium Society would also be interested in any free imagery that you get from the southern skies there. Those ones that you were showing, but we can make links to your website if that's okay. Is Nico still here?
He froze there for a minute, so he may be coming back on. He's back
Oh,
in the
right here.
waiting room.
Okay, he just reappeared in the waiting room.
That happened to me just before I started too. It was, of course.
Okay, well, I guess I'll let Nico back in. That's what. Nico's back. There he is.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm not sure if I've pressed the wrong button or if I've been kicked out.
I was just saying that the International Planetarium Society is interested in any images that you have, and if we can link to your website, that would be great for free materials that you might want to make available to other planetariums.
No, definitely, and everyone at APA is also all for sharing, especially the Rising Star, sharing it for free. So APA will be the first website to launch it, but we don't want to limit it to APA. We want to make it freely available.
I'm kind of curious about the job you got at the observatory. Nico, if you want to share what you do there.
So I've been there for just over a year. I studied mechatronic engineering, but I'm I've got the position or title, I'm the salt mechanical engineer. So what I do is I do lots of CAD and then simulations and lots of design work. So at this stage, one of our main partners is University of Wisconsin, and they want to create the SALT telescope to NIR, or to be able to observe in NIR. And that's where my job is, to integrate their designs with our telescope. But still, I am a junior engineer or not. I've only been working at a telescope for just over a year. But yes, I do a lot of CAD simulations.
You want to say anything about your background picture there with the snow on the?
Sutherland is the coldest town in South Africa. It's actually one of the few towns in South Africa where we get snow in town. And yes, so we like to brag with whenever we get snow. That's one of the main attractions of Sutherland. So first is the stars. Sutherland is known for having the best stars in South Africa. And then the second is the cold nights. We get we had a minus 18 degrees Celsius on our farm last year. And I think our record is a minus 33 degrees, the wind chill temperature. So I know that's nothing compared to some states in USA, but for Africa, that's super cold.
And I see you leave your telescope out in the snow. That's not a problem.
That's, if I remember correctly, it's called a multiple mirror reflected telescope, something like that. It's a very old telescope used in 1960, and it was used in Cape Town. And then Cape Town got basically too much light pollution, Cape Town, South Africa. And then it got shipped to Sutherland, and it was only used for 3 years. Then the technology were outdated, and they later used it as a counterweight for a larger telescope or for a neo telescope. And then they moved that to the Sutherland Tourism Office. And when the tourism office closed down, it just basically stood where the tourism office used to be. And one day the municipality told us, well, listen, you can have this if you want to. We went over to get our digalometer machine and brought it back to the planetarium the same day. Now we've got a very nice mascot.
Do you know offhand where on the Bortle scale your skies fall in Sutherland?
I've got no idea what scale you're talking
okay.
about. Sorry.
It's a scale of how dark your sky is.
Well, I'm sure if they constructed the largest telescope in the southern hemisphere in Sutherland, it's pretty dark. So we are not registered as a, what do you call it, a dark sky reserve, but I'm sure we tick all of the boxes. Have any of you guys been in South Africa or Southern Africa?
I was in South Africa. What year was it? There was a total solar eclipse that was going through Zambia, I think, or Zimbabwe, that area. And we flew into South Africa and had some kind of safari there. So, but that, I don't know, that hardly counts. It was just a, brief day tourism kind of thing, couple of days.
So those are two of our border countries or our next door neighbors. So quite close.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually heading over to a wildlife game auction tomorrow. So very African.
Yeah, actually I don't want to go into detail, but I had twisted my ankle right before that trip. And so I was on crutches. And when we were out there, my wife was a little worried that I probably wouldn't be able to outrun the lions. Of course, nobody can anyway. So
I was going to say, but that's security for the rest of the group. So you are probably their favorite
great.
person.
Thank you. Yes.
No, we've got large beds to protect us from the lions.
As they say, you only have to outrun one person.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
Yeah, see, we have the same saying up here for bears. So it works in the Pacific Northwest for bears.
That's why you bring your running shoes.
Yeah.
Hang around with people on crutches. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Now, if anyone visits South Africa, do pop in at Sutherland And the planetarium is basically open 6 days a week, 7 days in the busy season. And we've got 7 shows per day. We even start up the planetarium for 1 person. It's a very affordable system, so we are able to do that. So
you're open for business now, not it's no pandemic recess or anything?
Well, I don't have any government funding. Everything, all the income we have is out of ticket sales, and the public schools in Southern, they're very, very poor. So everything, all my income is out of tourism. We've got a coffee shop attached to the planetarium. So first regulation stated that we should remain closed, and then only businesses that serve takeaway food are allowed to open. So of course I opened the coffee shop, and just to have some sort of income. We fall under the category of cinemas, digital cinemas, and the first guidelines they gave, they said, well, cinemas are allowed to open, but not more than 15 staff are allowed to work at one stage. I only have 3 staff members, so that was fine. They soon corrected that and said, no, you're only to have, say, 30% capacity. So no, we have been open for a while and tourism has returned, but we had a very, 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 very rough 2020. But luckily everything is heading back to normal, and COVID actually taught us a couple of nice lessons. So in the past, we only had 3 shows per day. So my 35-seater planetarium, we usually try to get as much people in the 3 shows as possible. But what we didn't take into consideration is there's a lot of tourism. So people, they like to drive outside town, they like to go to Salt, do whatever. So if there's a tour starting in 2 hours, they're not coming back. So our new business model is having a tour. We started with a tour per hour, but now it's a tour every hour and a half. And in the quiet season, if there's someone who wants to do a tour, we start it immediately for them. And that whole approach of having much more tours, my system runs at $5 an hour, something like that. So I can start a system for only 1 person, and I'm not going to make a loss. So that's a very important lesson we learn. So even now in the busy season, when we do 7 shows per day, we can actually try and fill each one of those, but only in the busy season.
And what is the busy season? So it's fall there now.
So for us, it's winter time. Everyone in South Africa wants to see snow and want to feel cold. They don't realize how cold it is. So the busy season for us is end of May till beginning of August. So we made it for a year. We arrived. We're approaching our busy season. So everything is going well at this stage. So one big problem is Sutherland is a very, very small crude town, and our nearest neighboring town is 110 kilometers away, and they are even smaller than we are. So we're quite isolated, and but still with that, the town had 550 beds of accommodation available, but they are building a big wind farm just outside Sutherland, and the contractors are renting out our town, and at this stage there's only 150 beds available. So meaning in the wintertime, we had every one of those 550 beds were filled with tourism or with a tourist, and they stay 1 or 2 nights. Tomorrow night there's a new tourist, so every one of them will say consider visiting the planetarium. But now there's one guy renting a guest house that sleeps 3 people, and he's renting it for 6 months. So he'll only perhaps visit us for one evening, and perhaps bring his friends for another evening. So we are losing out a lot of that. But with our new business model, we are getting much more or much higher percentage of the tourists coming through town. So
well, time to build another dome and rent it out as a hotel.
No, the the real estate prices in Sutherland went up by a factor of 7. So it's been crazy. But no, that's why I actually want to invest in a mobile planetarium to send it out to other districts, especially in our quiet season.
Well, I think we're approaching the sign-off time. If there's any last minute questions, speak now. I want to again thank Alice and Nico. I think one more round of applause is unmute, please, and we'll have an applause. That was great. This is a really great session. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to. Sorry, Cole?
Yeah.
I was saying it's nice to see the PPA grant money going to really good causes there. It's very hard to see that.
Yeah, we have to
Decided
start.
do that.
Andy has put out the word that we need to start thinking about the 2021 grant. I doubt if we'll be able to give out quite as many. We kind of went whole hog during the pandemic and gave out. How many did we give out? It was like 10.
10.
Yeah. And but we decided it was a good time to deplete our treasury to a certain extent. So
Very much appreciated. Yeah. Perfect timing.
Good idea.
okay, well, thanks everybody for coming. This is good group. And we'll see you again next month.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.